Why is Vishnu called the preserver of the universe? In Puranic Hinduism, the abstract idea of the Vedas, expressed ritually and poetically, are transformed into stories, replete with plots and characters that the common people can understand. Here, for the first time, we encountered the idea of the Hindu Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma is visualized as a Brahmin, Vishnu as a king, and Shiva as an ascetic. Despite the high status given to the Brahmins in the Hindu society, the priest like Brahma is not worshipped. He and his sons, the Devas and the Asuras, the Rakshasas and the Yakshas, the birds and the serpents, are seen as creatures who are hungry and insecure, and therefore unworthy of adoration. By contrast, Vishnu and Shiva are seen having outgrown their hunger and insecurity and therefore worthy of adoration. The difference between Shiva and Vishnu is that Shiva needs to be coaxed to participate in society and engage with Brahma's children, whereas Vishnu does so willingly. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata are essentially stories of how Vishnu engages with the society. He is immortal and infinite, but in these two epics he takes mortal and finite forms, the avatars. Vishnu takes the form of Ram and Krishna for various reasons. In some stories he does this to liberate his doorkeepers Jaya and Vijaya, who were cursed to be born on the earth as Ravan and Shishupal, by sages whose entry into Vishnu's abode they obstructed during the call of duty. In other stories, however, this descent is to relieve the burden of Bhudevi, the earth goddess, who is tired of the greed of the kings who are supposed to take care of her. In these stories, Vishnu is forced by the Brahmins to go to the earth and restore Dharma. And so in many images, Vishnu sports the footprints of Bhrigu, the typical complaining Brahmin, on his right shoulder. Our understanding of the shift from Vedic to Puranic Hinduism is based on hindsight. Naturally, this shift, which took place over centuries, was not obvious to those experiencing it. To get a sense of this haphazard way in which this great change took place, we have to study the chronology of the text documenting the stories we are now familiar with. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata are the first story collections we have. They may be seen as 2000-year-old proto-Purans where the links between Ram and Krishna to Vishnu is not very obvious. The earliest Puran dedicated to Vishnu, in which the word avatar first appears around 1500 years ago. The Puran dedicated to Shiva came around the same time, but the one dedicated to the goddess Devi, embodied as a sovereign Durga or Chandi, came approximately 1300 years ago. Arguably, the most sophisticated Puran, the Bhagavad Puran, reached for its refined form around 1000 years ago, and it we find another shift, the rise of bhakti, the emotional connection that binds the devotee to their chosen deity. So, the ritual nature of Hinduism, which was dominant 3000 years ago, gave way to the narrative form some 2000 years ago, which in turn took emotional form around 1000 years ago. It was from karma to jnana to bhakti. We find three aspects in every age, but the promotion varies. Today, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata are seen as elaborations of the Vishnu Puran. They reveal to us how a prince and a cowherd used Vedic wisdom to live worldly lives, negotiating with hungry and insecure relatives and even strangers. Ram and Krishna are both responsible householders and detached hermits at the same time. More importantly, the name Ram and Krishna solves worldly problems and liberates us from the earthly bondage. Thank you for listening to our article. We hope it has been informative to you. Please be subscribed for more notable information.